You are listening to Radio Belvaspata, South Africa. This show is dedicated to those who live and love from the heart in infinite ways. In today's episode, we will discuss, share, gain insights, and get clarity on the wisdom and teachings of the mystic and seer Almin, as well as discover more about the miraculous healing modality called Belvaspata. Your host for this show is Paul.
Silence, acceptance, and emotional healing. The seer and mystic Almin tells us that humans' greatest fear is their own inner silence, the place where all unresolved trauma reveals itself. Facing oneself in silence is a threshold that must be crossed for the peace of mastery to be birthed. We're going to listen to the seer Almin as she gives an audio, just a short class on the Bridge of No Space.
The Bridge of No Space. What a tantalizing title. For the past 2 years, this title has been rolling around in my mind, and I knew that someday I would encounter its full meaning. That event happened at the last retreat, when our Russian family came to Newport and was able to share it with me. I am delighted that it will be produced as a webinar by Ella so that more can have access to the incredible information that was recorded from that workshop. My beloved ones, in 2004, I was quietly working with small groups of apprentices, much of our time spent in nature, to train for the impeccable mastery. It was a complete surprise to me that in 2005, in January, I suddenly was catapulted into ascension, and 1 month later, after a series of visions, I found myself having to ascend the planet and her creatures into whole new levels of life. I remember at that time that everything was so astonishing to me, and that the connection between the microcosm and the macrocosm was revealed more clearly than ever before, leaving me at times speechless with the wonder of life. It has always been to some extent that way, but I have not felt it as fully as during this last workshop. The revelations that we received and that I was privileged to learn and relate to the students there were indeed life-changing. It is these concepts that will be presented, and Ella will draw them from the direct recording that was done as I spoke. We present this to you with much love and the hope that it is as meaningful to you as it was to us.
And welcome to Radio Belvaspata, South Africa, broadcasting live out of the East Rand, part of Johannesburg, worldwide. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for being with us after last week's wonderful show. Thank you, everyone, for the comments. Thank you for the sharing. Thank you for just being in that heart-opened moment of being one with us. The information that some of you have sent us has been really awe-inspiring, and we truly appreciate you just taking the time to connect with us and telling us how you enjoy the show and adding your dimension, your experience to it. Thank you very, very much indeed. Tonight's show is all about emotional healing and working on the current processes that many of us seem to be experiencing. We're going to be talking about aspects of ascension with the Seer Almeen. We're going to talk about the lessons. We're also going to go into a message from Almeen about emotional healing through Belvaspatar. We're going to look at the new Belvaspatar called Aravespi Stra Unat. We're also going to talk about the mysterious forest staircases which have just come up on Almeen Diary. We're going to look at the Bridge of No Space, living a life with no limitations. And we are going to cross over to one or two celebrities like Jason Silva. And we've also got an audio from Diane that she's so beautifully prepared for us. John Denver's going to be coming up at the end of the show too. So lots of things to work with this evening, but let's begin. Over the last few weeks, we've been discussing, and here no holds barred in this show, that the last 2 weeks was really all about dissolving of density through, yes, wait for it, the diarrhea syndrome. I know many of you have been speaking and sharing about this, and we spoke about it on last week's show and the week before when Diane was with us at that particular point. We seem to have changed that somewhat, and many of us are now discussing the huge amounts of joint pain that we've got, lower back pain, headaches, migraines, memory loss, addictive patterns, neediness are all seem to be parts of the discussion around town, and town being our earth plane. Absolutely incredible just watching it all. And, for me, I'm so grateful that through your processes, I can see where my journey is. I know what it is that I have to do because all of you are sharing so openly and honestly. And then, people, such beautiful beings like Kiara sharing live on Facebook, so open from the heart there, really enjoying it all. So we truly are a worldwide community. But let's look at these joint pains, look at these headaches, let's look at these migraines that have been going on. We don't have to get stuck in the symptoms of everything as being right or wrong. We just simply need to understand that they're playing a particular role as we clear away the illusion of density that is going on in our life. If we look at Almeen's free course called What is Ascension, she says that the first spiral is the path of the initiate, and its goal is self-empowerment. It deals with overcoming or releasing the past through recapitulation. There are 9 questions to be addressed in releasing the past. And I'd just like to pose these to you. And the reason why I'm posing these questions to you tonight, just so that you can perhaps tick a few of the boxes for yourself and say, oh, yes, there we go. I agree with that. That is my experience. And as you begin to understand that, we are all one, we're all going through experiences. It may still be an individual experience for you and I in terms of our experience of it or our understanding or perspective of it. But we literally are all going through this massive, massive clearing that goes on. And as we step through into this bridge of no space that Almeen was speaking about earlier, and as we learn to live a life on a limitless and boundlessness, is that right word? You can share with me later if you like, if I've got that right. This aspect of living in limitlessness and in boundlessness. Yes, there we go. The words are correct. What it is that we have to release. And we can no longer be who we are. So many people are saying they don't even recognize who they are any longer. They've had to let go of all of those particular identities. For me, I celebrate it, even though I know that each one of us, our journey is sometimes painful, but also sometimes absolutely exhilaratingly blissful and beautiful. So these are the 9 questions that we need to address when we release the past. And again, just remember, I'm bringing them up so that we can just tick them. And you can listen to the show as well if you like afterwards and just go through them again, or we can send you the information. So Almeen says, one of the questions to release the past is, what is the lesson? Very big thing for all of us. And of course, our lessons are going to shift and alter as we're going along. Second, what is the contract? The third one, what is the role? Fourth one, what is the mirror? The next one, what is the gift? And then these other ones are for me so pertinent and so on par with what my own practices are on a day-to-day level. First one is, can I accept? Can I allow? Can I release? Can I be grateful? And I just figure for myself when I was reading this earlier on that if I just put those 4 aspects into practice, let's go through that again. Can I accept? Can I allow, can I release, and can I be grateful? That's a huge amount of spiritual work, of ascension work to do within yourself, just on those particular paradigms and processes. And I've got yes and no going, so it depends on the situation of what I should allow or what I shouldn't allow. But I'm aware within myself all the time of these new processes and just being aware of living on a higher plane. And yet again, the old programs, the old paradigms are sometimes a little bit there with me, and they tend to pull me down into fear, or they tend to pull me down into momentary issues and problems where there is anger, there's all these issues coming up, but I'm very, very quickly moving into a new dimension. And on one level, I'm celebrating this massive amount of life as it unfolds, and it's really, really is exciting. Almin tells us to, watch with glad expectation, and I'm just in this, wow, this is happening and that's happening, and even though I might not experience it today, I'm still ready to graciously receive whatever comes my way in that. Almin says that the struggle through this density of life in ego identification builds the strength to go beyond. I'm repeating that. The struggle through this density of life in ego identification builds the strength to go beyond. And this just brings us up to the next audio that we're going to listen to right now with Almin. It's from her Underworld series, where she's speaking about, working within the underworld. And she says here, there's nothing to know and everything to question. And the reason why I wanted to play that is just to remind us of the journey, of the fact that we do get stuck in questions. We do get stuck in searching now and again. We do get into this place of stuckness that we're trying to look for answers and what is right or wrong. And immediately we step into that programming, the reactions all begin. And then I think we lose our gratitude, we lose our ability to release all of it. And so we have to work on ourselves. But again, this perfection in being able to work on the self and being aware that we are able to work on it. And I think also being aware of what the lesson is at this moment and what it is that we need to do. So let's listen to Almin there. There's nothing to know, everything to question.
We have looked at what the kingdom is that is represented by the direction of below. The fourth kingdom that has been the lost kingdom. And we have seen why it is lost, because if you were to make a model of these, you would draw the three kingdoms of the Godhood, pristine man, the magical kingdoms, you would draw them as a triad. The point that makes it a pyramid is, in fact, the kingdom of the purified instinctual. The purified instincts is what we are looking for. We are looking for that which will, in all areas, speak of the knowingness that has no reason. Why has this been suppressed? Because of the tyranny of mind, it could not control. Because of the tyranny of the heart, which tells it, no, it's not safe to reveal yourself. It is time for us to throw off the tyrannies of distortion. Let's look at the tyrannies of distortion that have been in what is for us our own personal underworld, our subconscious. The stage that has to be cleaned off for the dance of the interpretive dancer, which is Wild Woman. Without her, our first contact with the non-cognitive messages from the infinite is broken. The chain is broken. Without the child that steers these impulses into a sense of adventure, we don't know which directions our questions should lead life. Now, what has been distorted about the subconscious is that it has been the place where we have stuffed anything we couldn't understand and anything we could not wrap our hearts around. When you look at images of the Holocaust, I looked tonight at a Russian documentary very briefly. the staggering numbers that they lost during the German invasion into Russia. I mean, it makes up the population of countries. This is what they lost. One of their greatest holidays is Liberation Day, when the German army surrendered, because of how big the devastation was for them. You look at things like that, and the starvation that took place, you cannot wrap your heart around it. You don't know what to do with it. You cannot comprehend such brutality. And so what do? We stuff it in the drawer. We'll deal with it later, of course, which we don't. Sometimes our dream time will take things out of the drawer in order to examine them, because they're starting to overflow. But beyond that, we do not examine them, because we still don't know what to make of such brutality. So the subconscious, like wild women, like the wolves that howl at the moon, have been viewed with suspicion because it cannot be controlled and because it evokes within us an ancient memory that it is meant to be so much more than what it is. What is its function? I can give you half of its function today, because the other half is your job to work out tomorrow. When we realize that it doesn't matter whether we understood something or not, life is beauty. It isn't made up of duty. We don't have to connect the dots, because it's an endless journey of no beginning and no end. All there is joyous discovery. So, as we do this work of art that is called life, there is no need for us to understand everything. When we need to know something, it will be in the moment crystal clear to us. In fact, the one who said that very beautifully is Emerson. Emerson was a transcendentalist, and Emerson said that if there is a word that he is meant to hear in this universe, it will vibrate on his ear at the exact moment. If we were meant to understand it, we would have. You cannot understand madness. Madness is destructuring chaos. How can anyone comprehend something that destructures? What if you took a photo of me, and I wasn't very fond of the photo because I'm starting to disintegrate. I'm starting to destructure. And I don't remember who exactly it was, but we have several photos of where I look like a little doll that's melting, that's made of wax. It's not something you can make sense of when something destructures, because it has to restructure at a higher order. So to let go those things, we have to remember that there is nothing to know, everything to question, because we want to steer our life with our questions. If we get an answer, we hold on to it lightly. Today's truth is not yesterday's truth. And it has changed by the very moment that we understand it. But we continue to ask the most paradigm-busting questions that we can, because we would rather steer our own destiny, our own course, than have the masses in their mediocrity determine it for us, because we were too lazy to let our mind probe the vastness of existence.
you're back in studio with me, your host, Paul, and Nico is on the sound desk, and he's enjoying himself there. He's found himself a new inspirational intro that he likes to use, and we are enjoying that particular bit of, soundbite. Really beautiful indeed. There, Almin was telling us that when we realize that it doesn't matter whether we understand something or not, life is beauty. It isn't made up of duty. We don't have to connect the dots because it's an endless journey of no beginning and no end. All there is joyous discovery. That's the mystic and seer Almin telling us there in that class on all there is really is the process of, that there's everything to question and nothing to know. So in December 2016, the seer gave us a beautiful message, and it was about emotional healing. And I'm bringing it in tonight because I feel there is a need for healing on a level very deeply connected to the emotions and to the inner family, which are all now starting to reconstruct into different processes and experiences. And as we let go of the old, Almin was telling us there that knowingness is emerging, and that knowingness has no reason. And that's incredible when we start looking at that particular process. But she did also say that the subconscious has been distorted. And I think this is why our memories are being lost. Or shall we say, we're leaving them behind because it's being replaced by something unknown. I do think it's a sense of celebration and glad expectation, what I said earlier. And I certainly find that sense of joyous discovery coming up. But there's a transition going on, and I do feel that this bridge that we are stepping onto really, really unique in terms of each rung telling us what to do. And I think a lot of the pain within the body and all of those particular processes, as it tries to dissolve the old density so that we can be lighter as we step through this bridge, is certainly coming up. And each rung, each day has its own particular, experience to learn. So, Almin was telling us that there's so much more than what is. Let's go back to that message for Almin about emotional healing. This is December 2016. Almin said, although I have frequently said that the Belvaspata sigils never need to be upgraded since they evolve with life, new sigils for Aravespi Straunat for emotional healing are being received and will be available wherever this particular Belvaspata is available. The reason for this occurrence is as follows. A few of our light family are now starting to live from the immaculate white light reality. Others are entering the stages of resurrection. With the creation of the immaculate white light reality, the emotions of anger, grief, and fear are being released by humankind. During the stages of resurrection, the masters process these emotions archetypally in their own lives. In other words, they don't process the pain of others, but they deal with their own pain on behalf of others. When emotions are experienced and resolved through the archetype, their intensity increases substantially. The upgraded sigils of Aravespi Straunat will assist in resolving the more intense grief felt in this situation. So let's just look a little bit about some of that. And by the way, for everybody who is on our WhatsApp group, our Belvaspata South Africa WhatsApp group, we're about to post you a link to a download for the first 20 sigils and wheels that remove the illusions that cause grief. And I'd just like to go through this for a few moments, just to look at some of them. I don't need to go through all 20 of them, but I'd like to just point out that I've highlighted a few, which of course I'm understanding and is in my perception, my experience. But tick the box if it works for you. And then if you're on our WhatsApp group, please, you can just download the PDF file onto your phone or device. And if anybody else wishes to have it and you haven't got it, we can send it to you. You can just ask us and we'll send you that link as well. Either just contact us on Facebook through Messenger or send us an email and we will send you that link. It is a free download from Almin. But here we go. Now, illusions 1 to 20 of Aravespi Straunat. The first one, for dissolving the illusion of order and chaos. And then there's an explanation to it, but we're not going to get into that tonight. Just understand that the tools are here for us to really work on clearing away the emotional density and I think distortion that is certainly manifesting. Here's the next one. Some of you are going to enjoy this. For dissolving the illusion of mind's addiction to know. And then for dissolving the illusions of heroism and martyrdom. Now, I've still got little traces of that somewhere coming up within me. The need to save sometimes pops up, or the need to suffer sometimes pops up, working intensely on that one. And then one that I'm really looking at, for dissolving the illusion of responsibility. And I'm going to just detail the explanation that's given for that particular piece of Aravespistra Unat Sigil. Okay. For dissolving the illusion of responsibility. Here's the explanation. We are not responsible for carrying life. Instead, it is cradling us in a cherished embrace. I really, really like that. Right. The next one that I'm working on is for dissolving the illusion of valuing one part of life above another. And I deal a lot on that with humanity and the different aspects of it. So there we go. And the next one. By the way, we seem to be having some connection problems tonight on internet, so the system is probably reconnecting as we're going along, and I hope we haven't lost too much of the program. Apologies for that, but sometimes these things are not something that we can really look at or handle as it just has to be handled as it comes up. Right. And the last one that I really want to discuss right now, for dissolving the illusion of individuality as an illusion. For dissolving the illusion of individuality as an illusion. And the explanation is there. It says, we move as life moves in spontaneous expression of oneness. So, but there's 20 altogether. The WhatsApp group, we're going to be posting some links for you in a few moments, and then you can work with all of that. And it's a PDF file, so there is quite a few wheels and sigils to go with it. Enjoy. And again, just a reminder that if you're not part of our local WhatsApp group, you're welcome to send us a request on Messenger or by email. So let's now go to just our mid-show advert for a few minutes and see if we can maybe sort out the connection. We'll be back just after this.
Team Belvaspatar Healing South Africa facilitates one-on-one, group or distant healings utilizing a cutting-edge angelic healing modality that harmonizes and balances using a combined process of light and frequency. This cosmic healing modality has various protocols available that will assist in the transformation, transmutation and transfiguration of many areas of life. Visit our website on www.belvaspatar.co.za for complete information, and also link to us on Facebook under our name Team Belvaspatar Healing South Africa. You may also send an email to belvaspatar@anua.co.za. You can join our WhatsApp discussion group for daily posts and trending information and updates from Almin, the Seer and Mystic. Message us via either Facebook, email, or on the station's commentary section. We will now return to the online chat show, hosted by Team Belvaspatar South Africa and our guests for the day.
And welcome back to the show. I believe we've only lost 1 minute of airtime tonight. So thank you for staying with us. Hopefully you still are there. I see our numbers are growing up on the log sheet on the statistics. So it's great to have you with us, and thank you very much for that. Right, so we're talking all about, the state of silence. We're talking acceptance. We're talking about emotional healing. There we were working through the Aravespi Stra Unat, which is available as a full download on spiritualjourneys.com, by the way. We can buy the whole program itself if you wish to get that. But we're just offering to you the first 20 of those illusions to work with on a day-to-day level for the next few days. And we have just posted a link up on our WhatsApp group. Really, really interesting. So part of this journey tonight, and a very interesting audio coming up from the mystic and seer Almin, is really about who creates your reality. And I've been having a conversation with one or two people, hopefully you are listening tonight, about these particular aspects and the questions and the need to know this and the wanting to find out, etc., etc. And I think that when we are in pain, it is not an easy situation to try not to find why one is physically suffering in such a great deal. And that has been really, really intense for many people. I myself have had migraines and all sorts the last few days, and still not too steady in walking and talking, as you may be actually hearing at this moment. But let's listen to this discourse by Almin. She talks about the disc of life, and she reveals how we keep on recreating the same old reality from the ghosts of the past. And this is just really going to allow us to see where we are at, what it is that we're doing as we need to step into the bridge of no space and what we need to let go of. We'll see on the other side of this.
If you're in the tube torus is your reality. If you are not creating that reality, who is? You are creating it. But you are creating it from ghosts of the past. The only thing that you can put in that reality as you live, because you're now no longer where the river runs through it, you're no longer where fresh new information comes, is your old information. And as you spiral on this disc of life around the tube torus of your particular reality, you stimulate it into action. But it's the same old action. So, what is your tube torus if you're living within those mirrors that it has become, rather than in the center of the tube torus? You are living in a ghost of the past. Technically, that reality isn't even there. Why? Because it's something that isn't being generated with the alchemical potency and that which enlivens all things, which is the infinite. It isn't being touched by the infinite. It's an old ghost that hovers there, and you've been moving around and around in incarnations within a ghost of the past. That's why some sages have said about the nature of reality, it is not real. It is not real. What a huge insight. It is not real because it isn't enlivened. But it can be. So how do you make your experiential reality real? You have to generate it in an high alchemy of ongoing alchemy with infinite intent. To do that, you cannot even accomplish any of it if you are pulled in by the games of those whose minds are bending to step back into the tube torus. This is your final test. This is your final battle. It's like the Armageddon. We have to step out of the games of man into that center place where infinite intent touches us and we express, and then we get feedback from our expression, feedback from our art that we do in our life, which has been such, and I'm laughing because it has been such a theme here this week. And I have said during the week that every word we say is going to start to make sense towards the end of the week. We're in our second last day. What comes into the chakras? Feedback of what it's creating. First of all, we step into the middle of our tube torus, into the river, by living in the moment. Now, we have for years been talking about how to live in the moment. You cannot suppress anything. Because if you suppress feelings and emotions, they cause a dialogue in the mind. If you suppress them and you have a dialogue in the mind, and you don't want to have a dialogue in the mind, all you can do is to simply ignore them, to disassociate. None of this is stepping into the center. Yes, it may be called surrender, but really I call it disassociativeness. Because surrender has to look at the good and the bad and the ugly and find in it the poetry of creation.
And there the seer was really discussing with us the aspects of how we are living and the choices that we really make as we go through. I'm sure in certain instances knowledge is power, but I suppose if that knowledge belongs to yesterday, then it is going to create a state where we are powerless. But I was just thinking about these states of exhaustion that I see going around us. You know, it's like typical here in Johannesburg during winter. Everybody looks really tired and worn out, and they're all wrapped up and huddled away from the cold. And it has been a cold few days for us here. But Almeen says, we're just living in the ghosts of the old self there, and that it's not real. I find that absolutely fascinating. She uses the words like living in that state is not enlivened unless we enliven it. And then follows up with there, but the games of human need. And I've just been looking at the last week or two at the games that people play around me, their desperate need to be fed certain information, or their desperate need to be part of something, and they're creating it through this immense state of drama. And I'm recognizing that in certain cases it is also very self-defeating process they're going on. It's very destructive, those particular kinds of behavior. And I think this is what we're talking about, these aspects of addiction that is going on, is that we keep feeding that same old along the way. Almeen was there talking about this aspect of disassociation, that it's not surrender. And we've discussed trust and surrender on our show several times, and we've kind of come to the agreement and point that surrender is not about giving up. Surrender is just simply allowing oneself to move into that higher perspective all the time without forcing it. And that's just an aspect of graceful graciousness and change as we're going along. Let's listen now to a gift that Diane sent us today. It's an audio gift, absolutely beautiful, and so spot on with where we are going today and all these processes. And that's what I just love about our team, is they share processes together, and we all have a discussion here and there, and there it is spot on, and we're all doing the same amount of work in our individual lives, of course, but what we just bring together as one. And as we dissolve the old, so the new then comes out. And I'm just loving what Diane has given to us. So Diane, I know you are probably listening to us tonight, although you were busy on another process or another project. But Diane, thank you so much for sending this audio. And everybody, here's Diane's healing gift for us. Nearly 5 minutes of beautiful sound journey. Let's go with that.
The moment. Listen to the sound of this gong. And again. And again. Despite sounding similar, each gong has a unique reverberation. The vibrations and sounds are different in each moment. Al-Min says, that which is always new can never be known. It is futile to strive to understand when we live in the unknowable. Let us ask ourselves, whatever there is right now, can it be any other way? And we can only say, no. In this moment, no. The next moment may be, but this moment, no. This moment is new, it is fresh, it is unknown, never to be repeated. So if in this moment we can accept what is happening, that can be happiness. That may be contentment. In this moment that is unknown, the world, the cosmos, all that exists can exist in this moment. This moment is eternal. But we know that the mind never wants to stay in this moment. It is either in the past, trying to change it, work it out, or it is in the future, predicting what will happen based on what has happened. It is never in the now. For us, there is simply nothing to do. There is nothing to harness. For the moment is always here, waiting for us. The mind hopes to escape it, and often through memory and daydreaming, sometimes drugs and alcohol, we attempt to dodge it. But to live fully in this moment is the only way to live fully. Al-Min talks about the futility of living in the past and using that knowledge to guide us into the future. And I've often wondered about that. But the analogy that she uses speaks of taking a photograph of an ocean wave and then using that knowledge to get information about that wave or a wave you see 20 days later. The information is useless, for everything is changed in the moment. Now, by accepting what is in front of us, this moment, we can fully live and respond. We can get involved and we can get passionate about life. So accepting the moment is accepting what is in front of us. That is, without exaggerating it or creating drama from it. Yes, it may bring pain, but it never brings suffering. Suffering is our choice. Suffering is the mind's choice. So, let us relax into this moment. The sound of this gong, let us accept it. The gift of this radio show, let us accept it. Accept, 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 and all becomes a part of us. We become a part of everything. We are one with all. We are then the door to everything. We are then willing to bring this heaven to earth. And this is boundlessness. This is the moment.
And thank you to the Master Diane for that beautiful and powerful reminder of where we're at, the tools that we have, and how to use them. This aspect of silence and acceptance, absolutely incredible. I must say, I think I've been working on the state of acceptance of just seeing what is in front of me, not reacting to it, but just seeing it for what it is. It's an ongoing work of art that is certainly in progress. I'm sure many of you will be able to identify with that too. So today, the 20th of July, on Al-Min Diary, she's written up, there's a post there that says, "Who built the mysterious forest staircases?" We discussed this about a year ago, I think, here on Radio Belvaspata, South Africa. And the question posed to Almeen was, you had said that the mysterious staircases that are found in the forests of the United States are used by UFOs that come from the future. Their construction seems to date from the last 40 years. Forest rangers are told not to ask questions about them. What was their original purpose and who built them? Assuming that although the craft from the future are using the stairs to get in and out of UFOs, they weren't originally built by them. Almeen says, you're assuming correctly. They're not the original builders. The secret initiative of abducting children and some adults for the colonizing of Mars that has been going on for about 40 years is behind it. The number of visitors and hikers abducted from national forests and parks are staggering. The craft that take them, this is from the human government's secret factions, use stealth technology. They use the stairs as a pickup point. And there's more to it as well, which you're welcome to go and just check out on Almeen Diary on today's date. But, we were having a mini discussion earlier on within the WhatsApp group. And I was just thinking about the connection between the stairways, and I've seen artists' impressions of those particular staircases. And I think in some past experience, I've had a meditation where I experienced them in that particular journey and that visualization journey. But I'm linking those particular staircases which seem to end at a particular point. So in other words, it's like elevated stairs and then they suddenly stop. And yes, that could be for a pickup point, etc., as we say. But I'm looking at this bridge of no space and no time that is coming up more and more and more within the teaching. There's a webinar coming up. We'll talk about that in a while. But literally this whole particular process of, to me, it's an unfinished staircase. And when I look at how, time travelers are increasing, time travelers are coming backwards and forwards. Almeen herself gave us so much profound information and classes about her travels to the future, 300 years into the future. And then came back again with so much to offer. And I just think that as we step into this bridge of no time, rung by rung, we are creating that particular bridge. And I'm likening these stairs in the forest to be a very similar process where, time travelers are coming into our particular point. We are going to that particular point, and therefore we are bridging the particular process. So there is no future, there is no past, and there's only this particular present moment. And as Diane was saying earlier, this particular moment is all that we literally have. It does concern me, the comments about the abductions. It does concern me about the colonization of Mars. I've been trying to do some research on that. And I know recently on Almeen Diary, there was a post released where a scientist or something was released that showed that what Almeen has been talking about is in point happening as we're going along. Very scary for me to actually think about all of that, but also opportunity for me to work on my own self-sovereignty. So that's what I'm likening as this forest staircase, and the bridge of no space is as we move into the future, we're bringing the future to ourselves and we're taking ourselves to the future, because everything has to be in perfection. And perhaps that's a bit of a romantic ideal that I'm working with or choosing to work with, but I'd love to have your opinion. So please let us have that. Send us an email, info@belvaspata.co.za, or right now on Spreaker.com's page that we are broadcasting from. So here we are, new webinar, August the 5th, 12th, 26th, and September the 2nd, 2017. The Bridge of No Space, Living a Life with No Limitations, Inner Resurrection. And this webinar course was created at the personal request of Almeen, using information and materials from a private retreat that she had in May 2017. And that was our opening audio where Almeen talked about the Russian Light family had come to Newport to have a retreat with her. And so all that information will come out on that. But is it not absolutely incredible that we have this glad expectation that our consciousness is growing to such a beautiful openness that we can just live, or realize that we can live in a state of no limitation. So absolutely incredible. Right, it's time for some Jason Silver now, his Shots of Awe series of class. And he's going to talk about the infinite. He quotes here that for man to be able to live, he must either not see the infinite or connect the finite with the infinite. and that's Leo Tolstoy writing that's coming up there. But that just highlights what I'm saying, is connecting the finite with the infinite process and allowing ourselves to open up, and really we're building these rungs of this bridge. We're building that next stair in the staircase into whatever it's going to be because of who we are at this particular moment. Nothing preconceived, just stepping forward onto that stepping stone and trusting through surrender and acceptance as we deal bit by bit through our lives. Absolutely fascinating. Here's Jason Silver, TV celebrity, talking about the infinite.
Human beings are in quite a predicament. We have the mental capacity to ponder the infinite, yet we find ourselves housed in heart-pumping, breath-gasping, decaying bodies. We are simultaneously gods and worms. The philosopher Tolstoy used to say that human beings need to find a way of bridging the finite, which is us, with the infinite, which is that ineffable cosmos, a universe that is beyond our capacity to comprehend, something so vast that we can hardly model it in our consciousness. And we've come up with ways of assimilating ourselves with the infinite, right? We've come up with complex mathematics, with equations, right? We've created space telescopes that mainline space and time through the optic nerve. But what do we do with that, right? How are we to make sense of transfigurating experiences in which we disappear and become one with everything, right? Tim Doody says that in these moments we recontextualize the self as a marvelous conduit in a timeless whole from which molecules and meanings flow from neurons to nebula and back again. And it is in this dramatic recontextualization that some people experience temporary panic. You know, it's like we're having a dose that is stronger than what we can release into. But if you can slowly, through meditation and self-inquiry and breathing, learn to breathe through the turbulence, learn to deal with the crisis, the supreme ordeal as you pass through the birth canal, you might, my friends, be born into something quite new and exhilarating. You might emerge on the other side of that black hole and step into the light. People talk about it as an out-of-body experience. People talk about it as the moment in which they tasted or they engendered the divinity within themselves. It is possible, my friends. It can be staged, right? Religious ecstasy, intellectual neurostorms, these experiences that mark us, that tattoo themselves in our psyche and leave us with feelings of grace and ecstasy and gratitude are what life is all about. We are all heroes on a journey looking for that. We're looking for annihilation of self with a small s so that we can reemerge with a sense of self with a capital S, connected with it all. And I'm not saying that I'm there. I've dealt with my share of anxiety, turbulence, fear, and even panic. But there have been moments where I pierced against and through the veil, and the curtain parts, and what had never been seen is devoured by the eyes. And in these moments, the universe winks, my friends, and I know that all is good. And I know that all is good. As Paul Tillich used to say, you don't conquer the anxiety about dying. You meet it with courage.
And there we were listening to TV celebrity and personality Jason Silver describing one of his shots of awe audios and videos called The Infinite. Incredible how he manages to mix the understanding that we are both the worms and the gods. Isn't that really incredible, just looking at that entire perspective? All right, so we're going to go now to an audio just to finish off our show for tonight. It's called Healing Time on Earth, sung by John Denver. The song is never recorded, apparently, from what we can find out. It's said to have only been performed one time live. It's an extremely rare song, of course. So from what we can find out, it was performed only once in 1995 and never got published. So we can play tonight because we've got no copyright infringement going on. But yet, John Denver, we lost him on a physical sense, but I think we've still got his music and it's still very, very popular. So let's listen to that, and then we'll close off by taking us back to our state of ascension, which we opened up with. Here's Healing Time on Earth, John Denver, and he's describing a little bit of his journey.
So I got very, very close today to being a victim again. Doggone it, I hate to admit it, but it's true, and it comes out of this next song that I'd like to do. David Brower, who I love with all my heart and respect more than I could ever express, has been after me for how many years? About 5 years, to write a song called Healing Time on Earth. 4 or 5 years. And I said, Dad, I will. And I have wanted to desperately. But somehow it just hasn't come. And I kept thinking that it's going to be one of those songs that just one day, you know, it's all going to be there. And as we got closer to this year's symposium, I really wanted this song. So I read this wonderful book of David's, which came out this year, which I mentioned to you earlier, called Let the Mountains Talk, Let the Rivers Run. And I thought, oh, I can use that. I'll do that. And I read the book, and then I read it again. And I started writing a song. And this has been going on for a couple of weeks. And up until 4:30 yesterday morning, all I had was Let the Mountains Talk. Let the river run. So around all of the other activities going on here these last couple of days, I've been trying to see if something would come through. And this has lasted up until just before Melissa's speech, when I came out and had to be part of the program again. So, David, I have something. You know, I don't know how songs happen or where they come from. It's an incredibly magical thing to me. Sometimes you literally sweat blood trying to write a song. Sometimes it takes months, and sometimes it can happen in 10 minutes. Annie's song I wrote in 10 minutes one day on a ski lift here in Aspen. Heart to Heart, that you heard earlier, I wrote sitting alone one night in a restaurant overlooking Hong Kong Harbor, having been in China the 5 weeks prior to that. Sitting by myself alone on a napkin, I wrote Heart to Heart. So I don't know how it happens, and I don't know the words to this song. I may know some of them. I don't have a melody. This is a song in progress, folks. But Dave, I don't want you to go home from this trip thinking that damn John Denver's never going to write that song. Let the mountains talk, let the river run. There is wisdom here, there is much to learn, there is much to know, much to understand in this healing time. All across the land, you have heard my songs, oh, so many years. You have laughed with me, washed away my tears. You have shared my joy, you have felt my pain. In this healing time, walk with me again through these darker days on this narrow
find my way. Help me see the signs. I am not afraid. I am not alone. You have taught me well. You have brought me home. Let the mountains speak. Let the rivers run. As the world awakes to the rising sun. In each brand new day. In our own rebirth. In this healing time on our mother. Let the mountains talk, let the rivers run. There is wisdom here, there's so much to learn. In each brand new day, in our own rebirth, in this healing time for our Mother Earth, in each brand new day, in our own rebirth, in this healing time here on Mother
And there we were listening to John Denver live all the way back from 1995, singing A Healing Time on Earth. I'm watching Nico here through the glass of the studio, and he's listening to the song, and I can think he's thinking, he'd like to do something like that and sing it. So there we go. Well, this last week has been all about voluntary cleansing and clearing out, according to the rune prediction for this last week. Next week coming up, ooh la la, time to put romance back into your life and look after yourself. So a complete shift around as we've gone through this detox, as we've dissolved density and illusion, and we step up into a new state of love affair with life. Almin says that the struggle through this density of life in ego identification builds the strength to go beyond. So please remember that. Ending off with our 4 aspects of questions that went in Almin's course on Ascension. Can I accept? Can I allow? Can I release? And can I be grateful? I appreciate each one of you for sharing with us each week, for spending this hour with us together as a light family from around the globe. We are growing more and more each week. Our team is developing some ideas and thoughts to actually add more to the show and to go into some online webinars with each one of you, just to work with you and allow yourself to experience who you are at this particular point through the teachings of the mystic and seer Almin. To Nico, thank you tonight. Sorry if we had an internet connection problem. It might still be happening, but we've lost a minute or two here and there from what we can find out. But we'll only know that once we've hit broadcast. And that's it from us for this week. This is Team Belvaspatar South Africa saying goodbye and love, praise, gratitude, and remember silence, acceptance, and emotional healing for all of us. May all be one, and may we all be the light. Good night.
You've been listening to Radio Belvaspatar South Africa. Thank you for listening and sharing in our discussion. Should you have any questions with regards to the healing modality of Belvaspatar or have any healing needs, please send us an email to info@belvaspita.co.za or add comments to our page on Spreaker.com so we can work on providing a suitable response. We now close this episode with the eternal ascension qualities of love, praise, gratitude and trust, and look forward to sharing again with you next week. Goodbye.